Hello, everybody. Hello. Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be upon you. If you want to repeat, you say wa alaikum assalam, which means like peace be upon you too. And welcome everybody. As I told to Sarah, this is your place. I put there home for youth, but don't think it's only for youth, it's for everyone. And I want to share with you one verse of the Quran, chapter 5, verse 2. At the end of that verse, if you open the book, the holy book of the Muslims, you find it says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ, which means help each other for the good cause. And then it says the opposite, the same ayah, do not help with whatever is harm causes. So, which is the opposite of the same part of the verse of the Quran. That means God is commanding us. So I was talking to Sarah and Maria. I said, when we do volunteer job, it's coming from the faith. So it's not something that we do. So our faith commands us to volunteer and help others. And the beauty of this verse is, it says the creation. It doesn't talk only the human being. It says help the creation. So the Creator is asking us to help the creation, which is not only the human being, animals, trees, everything that exists, because they are part of you. That's the meaning. So that's number one. Number two that I want to share with you is the Prophet Muhammad. In Islam, we say we always have two major sources that we can take it from. One is the Holy Quran. That's what I said, the verse from the Holy Quran, chapter 5, verse 2. And number two I want to conclude is Prophet Muhammad saying, he said, beautiful hadith, you will love it this. He said, أَحَبُّ النَّاسِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَنْفَعُهُم. This is the hadith that many people like me moves. And that's why I'm here with you. That's why we need to volunteer our time and everything for the cause of the humanity. This hadith, this saying of Prophet Muhammad says, أَحَبُّ النَّاسِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَحَبُّ النَّاسِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. The one that God loves most, the one that God loves most is the one that helps others. So it's a clear message. And then, if you allow me, I will conclude with the story of the practice of Prophet Muhammad. There was a man. That man was collecting and saving money for about 7 to 10 years. And I said this story might be here or other places. And then the reason was to go to Hajj. Hajj is one of the pillars of Islam, to go to Mecca and following the beautiful procedures to please and for the good cause, also to worship one God. Then what happened was, the day that he collected everything that he needed and ready to go, Islam says you have to say goodbye to your neighbor. A neighbor in Islam is a scary number. Your neighbor is 160 houses in each direction. No, 40. So, yeah. So 40, yes. 40 houses of each direction is 160, right? So he started to go to every house to say goodbye, because he has to say goodbye. One of the houses, he found kids crying, and then there was like a food there was something on the fire. And he said why they were crying, and the parents said these kids did not eat last couple days because we did not have food. And last couple days, they said yes. And he said they never ate last couple days. Yes, that's why they were crying. Oh, what is on the fire? And they said what was the fire was the dead animal that we found. So I'm trying to cook that for them, since it is necessary for us to eat. The dead animal in Islam, to eat dead animal is prohibited. But when it's necessary, it's another story. And he said, wait here, remove that dead animal, stop this. He went to his house, he took the whole money that he raised for years to go, and he gave it to that family. And he canceled his trip to Hajj. That was good cause to worship God, to go to Mecca. But what happened in that pilgrimage, the story says God rejected those who came, thousands of people, for some reasons, did not accept their deed. But two angels, someone saw a dream. One of them saw a dream, two angels talking to each other. What is going on here in Mecca? And one said, God rejected whatever these people did. The other one says, I have a good news. God rejected, but forgave them whatever they have done because of the deed that has done by someone in Sham. Sham was Syria and Jordan area, the one that that person lived. And the person said, for what reason? And the angel did not say the reason, said God knows what that person did, but he did something important. The person who saw the dream, he left from Mecca all the way, coming exactly the place, the village, and he had the name of the person because the two angels talked about the person's name. He kept asking the person until he found, and he said, we need to find out what you did because of you. Thousands of people, God accepted their deed and forgave them. And he told what he did. He helped those who were in need and special need that time. So for that reason, from the faith of Islam, we must, it's not even we should, help others who are in need. So you're here, you are in the right place to be, and we are committed to be part of it. And whatever you're asking this community, the Muslim community, especially the Somali and Oromia community that are well connected to the mosque, please welcome and engage us, and we will engage you. And thank you again. We also are very happy to see the food today, and that's why we wanted to be part of the food because yes, and it's a delicious food. It is halal food. Halal means like accepted food for the Muslims. So please enjoy the meeting. I will be with you, and if there is anything, let me know.
So as many of you know, when Opportunity St. Paul got underway, the first thing we tried to do was find try to find 10 partners. We actually looked at 60 different organizations in the Twin Cities, or in the St. Paul, greater St. Paul area. And we were trying to match, we wanted them to match 5 criteria that we were looking at. And the idea was that we know organizations that can do things. We have volunteers over here. We weren't getting them together. That was the idea, is to match. So we had 5 main criteria that we were looking for. One is that the organization had to have a focus on economic mobility. Not that there aren't a lot of other worthy causes, such as emergency services and so forth, but for this particular program, what we wanted to look at, our idea is a successful community is a community that has pathways to go from one income quartile up to another one. That's what we were focused on, and we needed organizations whose mission was aimed at that. So that was one. The other, the second of the 5 is they had to be high quality, and they had to prove that they were high quality from using their own data. We interviewed people involved with the organization. They had to show that they have moved the needle, and they can continue to move the needle. The third, of course, is that the business model had to rely on volunteers. That's where we could provide. Not that other organizations that don't rely on volunteers don't do great work, but what we needed, we had the volunteers, we needed to plug them in the right spots. So that was important. It was also really important to us, the fourth criterion was that there was a history of providing a good volunteer experience for the volunteers. A lot of some organizations can really kind of run through volunteers, burn them out a little bit. And it was important to us that these organizations had a good volunteer experience and really engaged people. And then finally, the fifth criterion was that the work had to be a relationship-based deepening experience between our volunteers and the clients. Again, there's a lot of great organizations who do a lot of great work, Feed My Starving Children, where you do a lot of basically labor. That's great stuff, but for this purpose, we thought it was important that our volunteers had real relationships with the people who were benefiting from their work. So that is what we did. We looked at 60 organizations. A lot of them met 3, 4 of these, but we found 7 that met all 5, and we said we're going to start with this. The one I chose to volunteer with was Common Bond. Let me see if I can do the rest of them. St. Paul Library, Neighborhood House, Daily Work, East Side Learning Center. How many? I've only got 4. Wilder Foundation, and I'm missing. Oh, and Common Bond. Oh, so well that's. Reading Partners. Okay, yeah. There's 3 reading-related ones. Common Bond is one of them. Anyway, I chose Common Bond. I guess I sort of went into a vetting experience to make my choice. A good number of all the options appealed to me, but as a writer of sorts, I used to work in PR. I decided I could best contribute with programs that involved reading and writing. So I was still a little tentative and nervous when I signed up, but I attended the mandatory training sessions put on by Common Bond's academic counselor, and I'll tell you what, I assume this is true with the other organizations. The training was top-notch. It really prepared us for what we were about to experience, made us a lot more comfortable. The staff created weekly assignments to us based on how we were doing as a team, meaning me and my client, who was a young Somali girl by the name of Asha. And the assignments were structured so that I always had something concrete to work on, but it was loose enough that we could follow Asha's lead and, go into areas where she was interested. And I learned an awful lot from Asha in the 2 years that we worked together. So I knew I was having an impact, first of all, because the academic team periodically tested her and made sure she was making progress. But the best way I knew is when I ran into her mother once when we were out and about, and I turned to the person who was with me and I said, "Oh, this is my study buddy's mom," and she said, I can't do a Somali accent very well, but she said, "He changed my daughter." And I tell you what, I never felt more proud in my life. So thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Oh, yes. I thought that it was just the bright lights of the fame shining at me. Really, I have just one message to you, which is thank you so much from the bottom of my heart on behalf of the City of St. Paul for everything that you have done over the last year and everything that I know that you're going to go on to do after this experience. I have to say, and I know it's going to sound trite when I say it, but Opportunity St. Paul is truly my favorite program in St. Paul. I love the idea. I've loved it from the very first moment I heard about it. Randy and I sat across from each other at a Dunn Brothers downtown, and she sort of sketched out on the back of an envelope this crazy notion she had for bringing together 100 people from different faith organizations to volunteer for a year at previously selected awesome organizations, to be in cohort, to be in partnership, learning as they went. And I just thought this is the greatest thing. And being here now and seeing all of you at the end of this year, I wish I could spend the evening and just sort of talk to each of you about your experience, because I'm sure it was life-changing and incredible, not only for you, but of course for the people that you were working with. I really appreciate the fact that you take the time out of your busy lives to get involved, because as a city council member, I feel a lot sometimes like a T-Rex. I'll explain what I mean by that. in case it's not totally clear. I feel like I have a really, really big head. Like, we can think a lot, we can talk a lot, we listen a lot, but we have really small arms. When it comes to getting things done, we really need partners. And I think sometimes people point to the government or they point to one agency or another and they say, oh, they can solve the problems. But really, in St. Paul, as in any community, we cannot do it alone. We need each other. And I think the strength of our community in St. Paul is the fact that we have people like you, people who are willing to take their time to give to others. And I will just leave you with one thought, which is there may have been times along this year or in your lives in general or in the future where you felt like, gosh, this isn't maybe the most rewarding thing I've ever done, or gosh, there's so much left to do. And I feel like I'm only making this much of an impact. And I actually have a quote from our Jewish faith calligraphied on my wall in my office because I refer to it so often. And in Hebrew it says, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, v'lo ata ben chorin lehivatel mimena, which means it's not your responsibility to finish the work, but neither are you free to turn away from it. The work that we're doing is not going to be done in a day or a year or a lifetime or even generations, but we're not free to turn away. We have to start now. And the work that you've done this year has put us on a terrific start. So thank you so, so much from the City of St. Paul for all you've done. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm Director of Programs at Common Bond Communities. For those of you, I'll just give a really quick synopsis of Common Bond. We are a developer and provider of affordable housing in the Twin Cities, the greater Minnesota area, Wisconsin, Iowa, and soon South Dakota. We are moving into South Dakota very soon here. We really believe at Common Bond that home is the foundation for everything in life. If you have a stable home, so much more is possible in your life. Without a stable home, it's so much harder to provide for your family, to look for a job, to succeed in school, to thrive, to have health and wellness in your life. So we really focus, the foundation of what we do at Common Bond is we build, we develop, we manage quality, affordable housing. We currently serve just over 12,000 residents within our housing. And we really focus on maintaining stability in that housing. So we provide the property management and provide the buildings, but we also have staff on site that are working with residents to ensure that they can maintain their housing, they can pay their rent, they have the resources they need, they know what it means to be a good tenant and to avoid lease violations so that their family can really thrive. And on top of that, then we layer on things like youth education and what you all, some of you are coming in to do with our youth. We're so thrilled that 11 of you over the past year worked with Common Bond students like Asha. Thank you, Bill. Where are you, Bill? Thank you. And we really focus on Common Bond within our youth programs on consistency and dosage. The research shows, we've done literature reviews on this, and the research shows that the longer that a student is involved with a mentor or a tutor, the better the outcome is. So some of the research shows, for example, one of the key elements in a positive youth environment is the child-instructor relation. So if you think back to when you were a student, you think back to when someone says, who was your favorite teacher? You can immediately call to mind that person, most of us. Usually that instructor was with you throughout the year or multiple years. They're ingrained in your memory. You have a positive relationship with them. That is key. So you who are going into these sites and working with students, it's so important, the relationship that you build with them and that consistency that you provide. That's the number one thing that influences whether a student is successful in a program, is that relationship with the adult and that consistent relationship. We also know that the longer the mentoring relationship lasts, the better the outcomes. And in fact, there is research from Big Brothers Big Sisters that shows that actually it's the inverse is true. So I think it's the inverse. So the longer the relationship, the better, but actually short relationships can actually hinder a student's success. So it's if something shorter than 3 months is there, that can actually cause damage to the student's success. So the importance of you all coming regularly, finishing out the year, so important. So thank you so much. Flip. So just some quick numbers. Across the Twin Cities metro area, Common Bond in our what we call our Study Buddies program, which is what Bill is in, we had 194 volunteer tutors that gave over 4,300 hours of tutoring to kids over the last school year, which is amazing. In St. Paul alone, 89 volunteer tutors gave 2,100 hours of tutoring, and 11 of those 89 were from Opportunity St. Paul. 2 of our most involved volunteer tutors were from Opportunity St. Paul. So 2 of those that really gave the most time and spent the most time with students were from Opportunity St. Paul. So we are so grateful for that. Last slide. Just a couple of more stats. At the end of the 2018-2019 school year, we're really excited to say that almost 50% of our students who were below grade level when they started the year made more than 1 year's of progress. So sometimes that doesn't, to the average person that doesn't sound that impressive, but if you think about a student who is on a downward scale, so they start first grade at a kindergarten level, usually what's going to happen is they're going to go into second grade, perhaps still at a kindergarten level, if not maybe at a first grade level. But these students that you all are working with, almost 50% of them are making more progress, so they're getting closer to being at grade level and they're stopping that decline. They're not only stopping it, they're moving it forward, which is so crucial. 85% of our students reported themselves feeling engaged in their learning. So what we saw with Manuel, you were doing such a great job of engaging him and really connecting him with that learning, tying it to his own life, what he is interested in, what he sees, what he has done. That makes him engaged. You could see he was just thrilled to be reading and to be learning comprehension and vocabulary because he was engaged. And 95% of our students reported feeling like they have a positive relationship with an adult, and that's because of the consistency with which you come. You work with our students every week on an ongoing basis. That positive relationship is the foundation for that engagement and then that academic success. So I just, on behalf of Common Bond, I want to thank you all so much for what you do. Housing is the start, but community needs to come in and really embrace and put their arms around these kids, and we thank you for doing that.
Hi everybody, I'm Chris Flippo, Executive Director at Eastside Learning Center. I want you to imagine with me a world where all children learn to read, where all adults have the opportunity to earn a living wage, where people of all colors, backgrounds, faiths, and cultures live harmoniously. I feel like that's the world each of you is creating, so thank you. Over these past 2 years, I've had the opportunity to witness firsthand the impact of your volunteer time. As part of the Opportunity St. Paul program, staff from the 7 nonprofits that you worked with had the opportunity to participate in what I call data meetings. Fun, right? But what made them fun is that we had one of the world's top evaluators, Michael Quinn Patton, working with us. For us, that meant we got to figure out the answer to a difficult question. We were moving to a new type of data, a new way of measuring, and we're like, how do we tell you, our partners, our volunteers, our funders, about that data and what it means, about the impact you're making? We had no way to measure whether our children were growing at a rate fast enough to catch up, like Jennifer just talked about. So what we did is we brought the data in, and he looked at it and he said, oh my gosh, well, have you thought about this and this and this? Because of that, I'm able to tell you that this past year, 75% of children in Eastside Learning Center's tutoring program grew enough to catch up to their peers. They didn't completely catch up, but they grew faster than their peers, right? That's an important outcome that each of you contributed to. So each of you has that purple handout, and I get to introduce the data to you. It's the fun part, I guess. The Youth Leadership Initiative participants feel strongly that their volunteer mentors, those of you who volunteered with them, show good examples of honoring other people's opinions, cultures, and lifestyles that are different from theirs. For Common Bond, your work ensured that 49% of their students increased more than one grade level. For Opportunity St. Paul volunteers at Daily Work, you helped serve 142 job seekers this year and help them find fruitful employment. Eastside Learning Center, you made it possible for 76% of the students to meet their reading goals and 78% to read at grade level. At Neighborhood House, Opportunity St. Paul volunteers made up 13% of the volunteers in the adult education program. And they helped 72% of the students meet a job-related goal. Reading Partners Opportunity St. Paul's gave 681 tutoring sessions valued at $17,300 this school year. Wow, that's a lot of impact from the people in this room. Combined, you positively impacted the lives of approximately 2,000 youth and 200 adults by having a meaningful relationship with a child, teenager, or adult who needed another human to invest, care, and share. Thank you.
Thank you.